So after the Karakas of the Ketu, so we move on to the examples. Visti, please.
Exactly. So now we're going to combine everything we've learned so far to get a more elaborate reading of the chart. And so having taught the Ketu chakra, I go back to the same Kate Latske, same person, all right? And now, because she had Ketu afflicted, I'm going to spend a bit more energy on her chart. I want to see, what is this Ketu really doing? And so I noticed, Acha, Ketu's here in Mithuna. And then I also had this notice that, okay, Rahu and Shani are afflicting. Where are they afflicting from? Because if I know where they're afflicting from, I'm going to get a very good hint as to what's going on. So I noticed that they're in 7th from Ketu. So if you recall, I said, oh, Acha, this is the place where the bandhana is actually happening. The rebirth process is actually being encouraged here. The person is being put in bondage and is having difficulty experiencing freedom. And these two planets are Rahu and Shani. And I mentioned already, Rahu and Shani are very fond of torture. Okay? When they get together, they like to chain people and do all sorts of nonsense. So we know that this is what's been going on.
And I like that.
Sure. Now, add one more detail to this. If I now start examining this from the actual Lagna, then I see, okay, this Rahu Shani, which want to do torture, all right? They are in the 7th from Ketu, causing severe bondage. So the person is going to be bound somehow. How do I know if it's not bound health-wise? How do I know if it's bound in jail? How do I know it's not a difficult time with one's siblings? Could be, you know, if they were in 3rd house from Lagna, there will be siblings that are giving problems. So I see from the Lagna, this is in 2nd house. We have this statement, very malefic grahas in 2nd or 12th or 5th or 9th from Lagna are causing severe bandhana, bondage. You know, like going to jail type of bondage. And she has it in 2nd house. So I know that this is actually bondage of going to jail. All right? So in such cases, then I know, acha, this is that type of problem. Bondage can be of different types, very different types. But either way, it is binding the person for a long time. Okay? Now, some people will say, but Visti could also be bound in hospital, right? Could also be bound in hospital. 2nd house is still bondage of the body, right? 2nd and 12th, 5th and 9th. So I will say, acha, I need something more for this. I would start looking at something like, where is the Karaka Amsha? Or is the Karaka Lagna? And I'll start seeing houses from there to know the result. All right? So I didn't put up the Karaka Lagna here. The Atma Karaka, I think, is in Pisces, if I recall correctly. And I'm interested in the 12th therefrom. 12th therefrom is Kumbha. Recall that Kumbha is loaded by both Rahu and Shani. So when this 12th from Atma Karaka gets activated, then you know this is distinct jail time. So bound in jail, not bound in hospital for her.
One more thing can be there, different thing, because Mars is debilitated. So it's not any surgeries or hospitalization in this case, which is the Karaka for surgeries.
That's right. That we could also add to that.
Yeah.
Now, what if we took the Ketu chakra a bit further? Because all I did was see 7th from Ketu. But what if I look at all the grahas? Let's try. 2nd from Ketu is bad. Remember we said 2nd from Ketu is bad? Mangal is Nietzsche over there. You know what? If you have Mangal in 9th from Lagna, you're always trying to fight the cause of others. You know? Like lawyers, oh, this person is suffering, I will fight for them in court. You know? Very liberal people. So she has Mangal over here, 9th from Lagna, and it is in 2nd from Ketu. Did you know if Mangal is in Karka or Vrishab, the person will never give up fighting? Never. In fact, even after this person would leave this planet, they would still be fighting. And guess what? The war ended in 45. So did her life. Very interesting, right? What a fighter. Imagine. Did you know that Sri Krishna had Chandra Nietzsche? Nietzsche Chandra never gave up till the last. Never give up. These people, you cannot win over them in battle. But guess what's happening? Because this is in 2nd from Ketu, it will deny moksha. All right? Oh, this is a tough one. Very tough one. Fight and keep fighting and never give up fighting. But you will not get moksha because of that, because you will still be fighting even in your next life. She will come back, Hitler will come back, she will still be fighting Hitler. All right? For lives that end, keep on going. Moksha is not there. All right? Now, what is the other bad house from Ketu? 11th house. Moon and sun are over there. This is in the 6th house. This can relate to some disease. All right? Some illness. So she had illness of typhus. Typhus, I thought, was an issue with the lungs. Is it? I don't remember. Some bronchial issue. So it's a very severe one. Maybe it has to do with the moon. Moon has to do with the lungs. The other one is sun over here. Could be dealing with the bones. She had issues with legs. So this was an issue with the bones distinctly in the legs. Maybe we can infer. So this is another hindrance. So her illness is also hindering her from achieving moksha. This is very unfortunate that an illness does so. All right? What is opening the door to moksha? 10th house from Ketu. Venus and Mercury over there. What is this Venus and Mercury? Venus is exalted and it's the 7th lord. If 7th lord is in the 5th house, you will be deeply in love with your spouse. Deeply in love. So the love she had for her partner was opening the door towards moksha. But she has to work for this. Ketu, 10th house, right? So she has to work with her spouse. So as long as spouse was alive and she was working with her spouse, everything was fine. She was working for these, what we call the Red Cross today. It was something called Red Aid back then. All right? Yes, she was working for all these, we say she's a communist, but she was working for all these welfare organizations, healthcare organizations, working for the poor, working for the workers, establishing the Workers' Party, helping people to get better wages, really, really nice, good work for the community. And she did this because of her spouse. You see that 7th lord over there? All right? That was the objective. The 7th lord with the 5th house with Venus. We can see that Mercury is Nietzsche over there. So this is also supposed to be good for her. And then we see it is 8th lord over there. So this 8th lord in the 5th house, what could that be? So maybe her not having children is actually good for her. She should have more students. Okay? Something like that. Something like that is there. She should have students, followers. Such people are helping her attain, coming closer to the path of mukti in her chart. All right? Then we see the 5th. Her hopes and dreams, the prayers. Jupiter is over there in the 12th house. What is this hope or dream or prayer? 2nd lord in 12th house means either you will have no money or you will depend on other people's money. All right? 2nd lord in 12th house, you depend on other people's money. In the positive, this can make somebody a hedge fund investor. Other people give you money, you invest it. You depend on them investing in you. In the negative, it can mean that you are dependent on welfare from the state. All right? Either way, we see she had a hope or a prayer of getting this. What is that hope or prayer? Like somebody who establishes an organization and everybody's donating to that organization and she gets money from that, depending on how many members of the organization are there. Right? 5th lord is also Jupiter. Some people who followers who are donating and giving money, and she depends on that. And this is also an obstacle for moksha. She should not look forward to establishing a party which can do that. All right? So we can see all the positives and the drawbacks towards mukti for her. And we can tell her, as long as you're pursuing this path, this is going to cause you less freedom and more bondage. As long as you're pursuing this Martian path, as long as you keep fighting, you will still be fighting. You will never have the freedom that you want. All right? You should be taking good care of your health, because this will also limit your freedom. You should be furthering the cause of your partner. This is a very good cause that you're pursuing. Like that, we can say. All right? So we can sit and balance the scales with this. All right? Let's try the next chart, Jeb Bush. Because we have done this chart once, so I'm going to do it again. Do I have to see the Ketu chakra only when Ketu is afflicted? No. I can see it in every chart. All right? It gives a lot more importance if Ketu is afflicted, but you should still see it in every chart. Yes. So in his chart, straight away, what's in 7th from Ketu? Ouch. This is where the bondage is supposed to happen. So what do you think is going to happen if he is looking for followers? Kids are fifth house, followers is also fifth house. Like if you're a politician, you need followers, people who vote for you. The voters are in the fifth house from Lagna. So what do you think is going to happen when he has to look for votes? Moksha denied. Okay, immediately. So this is a big failing. As soon as he needs the appreciation of the public, moksha is being closed. That door is closed. All right? Have no ideas that people who are in politics have the opportunity or a chance for moksha. They do not. They're the most unfortunate. Because one action of theirs impacts hundreds, thousands, millions of people at once. And the tears of all those that have been suffered who have suffered at their hand, they will have to be held accountable for, and they cannot get moksha in this life. So politics is not a means for spiritual growth. All right? Now, so this is a clear indicator that he cannot get this. Now, what are the opportunities for him to get mukti? We see that the two opportunities that are there are coming from Jupiter, which is 10th from Ketu, and Venus and Mars in 9th from Ketu. And very prominently so, we see that this Venus and Mars is in the 7th house. So through his spouse, okay? His spouse can be a very good teacher or guru. Maybe the spouse is associated with a spiritual institution. Maybe his spouse is Catholic. She's from Cuba, right? Maybe she's Catholic. Maybe she's a devout Catholic, all right? And so this can be a guiding force for him spiritually.
Maybe some sibling also, because Mars is the third lord also conjunct.
Third lord Mars, yes, that can very well be, yes. Such people can act as guides to him. But this is sukshma, subtle. We need the pradhan. Pradhan means we're looking at 10th house, or 12th house, or 3rd house. And among these, we only have the 10th house occupied by planets for him. And we see a tug of war happening, because he has a planet in 4th from Ketu and a planet in 10th from Ketu. These two are having a tug of war. They're trying to put more weight, okay? And the one who wins will decide. Now, here I notice that the 4th from Ketu is having an exalted planet. Now, we say that Shani in 2nd is not good. But trust that if Shani is in 2nd exalted and aspected just by one benefic planet, the person will be wealthy. Just one is enough. And Guru is aspecting that. But the more wealthy he becomes, the more 2nd house becomes stronger, and the more the 4th from Ketu becomes stronger as a result of it. So that means moksha is being denied by his accumulation of wealth. Whereas 8th house has to do with more of what we call giving away your money, donating your money. More prominently, it's leasing out your money, like loaning it to people. The more loans he gives to people, the more he can reduce his wealth. So he has to find a way to give out more money rather than take in more money, which is very complicated for anybody to do. But it does suggest if he went into, what we call funding for people, funding for projects. So if he was a politician, we would say, if you wanted more freedom, start getting into what we call funding for people to ensure better welfare for them, or better opportunities for them for their companies and whatnot, like company funding. Then he would be starting to get more freedom in his life. He'll be happier in his life. Unfortunately, there's a lot more weight on the houses which deny freedom here. Okay? And he has some debt to a friend, Mercury. And this debt is really also a big issue in his life, which will cause enmity with time, 6th house. Okay? So, that is how we can use the Ketu chakra. I think I have one more chart. Yes, Trump's chart. And it's not a far... Sorry?
This should have been the first one to be discussed.
Well, yes, I have reasons for not keeping it first. Okay. And here, we don't need to see if Ketu is afflicted. It is. Sun is aspecting, Rahu is aspecting, Mars is aspecting, but Moon is also there. So this is not as much a curse of Sadhu, Ketu, as much as it's a curse of Mother, Moon. Moon is also here, so it'll be taking the curse instead of Ketu. Had Ketu been alone, it would be curse of sadhu. Okay. Now, distinctly, all right, if I were to read the Ketu chakra here, I would have said, let us see what will give him freedom. And I notice what gives him freedom is this 10th from the Ketu, right? Mars is there. All right. So this Mars is going to give him freedom. What is this freedom? It's in Lagna. Something to do with name, fame, reputation is giving him more freedom. Okay. It is the 4th order in Lagna. So fame and a name for property. Okay. He has more freedom if he works with property. Okay. And the 9th lord is also there. So this can have something to do with father. He inherited the entire property business from father. So continuation of father's property business for which his name is associated. The trump name, Lagna, gives him more freedom. Right. All right. We must argue that based on his chart. Now, there are some dilemmas here. This 11th from Ketu is having that beautiful Jupiter. And Parashara states, if Jupiter is in Dhanabhava, afflicted, the more malefics, the better. He says the more money that will come from there. So in his case, he has one Shani Drishti, one Rahu Drishti, we will say. That means he will be extremely wealthy. But it's an 11th from Ketu. I am sorry. Moksha denied. Okay? Yeah. He also has a debt to a friend, Mercury in the 8th from Ketu. All right? Right. And finally, also the 7th from Ketu is having the sun, and sun is the Lagnesh. So that means there's another aspect of his name and fame which is denying him moksha. So there's a part of his name which is good for him, and there's a part of his name which is negative for him. So if I had to make a guess, the Mars name is property, the sun name is politics. So if he enters politics, this will be a serious deterrent to his moksha. Right. Okay? Yeah. All right. We could say public office is the right term. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think this is the last one in this series. I think we're getting into some other topic now. So is this an appropriate time for us to take a small break?
Shall I close this video first?
Well, you tell me.
Okay. I'll just stop recording. Thank you.